Hey guys, I'm Madison and welcome back to my channel, Mad Crafty. I have two words for you and those words are let's Cricut.
For my first project, I'm going to try making Cricut Infusible ink coasters. These also come in a square shape, but I like the round ones a little bit more. So I'm just going to get ready for my cut and open up Design Space and pull up these images that I had in mind for these coasters. And I'm just going to resize them to 3.5 inches. Now that I have that on standby, it's time to prepare my mat. Today I'm going to be using these black Cricut Infusible ink transfer sheets. And just a friendly reminder that if you have any sort of moisture on your hands or you have super sweaty hands like I do, you gotta wear gloves. If any sort of moisture gets on the transfer sheet, it will leave an ugly mark and we do not want that. I know from experience, trust me. So you'll notice the transfer sheet isn't very black, but don't worry because once you use your easy press, it comes out super pigmenty and very black, which is kind of part of the fun. So I have my green standard grip mat here, which is recommended for the Infusible ink sheets. And I'm going to apply my sheet down, and then just to make sure it's really on there, I'm getting out my Cricut brayer tool, and I'm just going to roll it all over my sheet to make sure there are no bubbles and everything is flat on the mat. Now it's time to open up my machine and power it on. And now I'm back in Design Space and I'm going to press Make It and make sure all of the correct info is there. Don't forget to press the mirror button, especially if you have any sort of words or letters on your design. I do not, but I'm going to press mirror anyways. Now I'm just letting the Cricut do its thing. It's funny because I have had a Cricut for the past 10 years and I am still so in awe with what it can do. It's truly an amazing machine. Anyway, it's all done and I'm going to pull it out and flip my mat over so I can properly pull the sheet off just like this. And then because I have 4 coasters, I'm going to cut out each individual circle. And now it's time for the not so fun part, which is the weeding, at least for me. You don't want to use a tweezer for this, you want to use your hands for this type of sheet, so keep those gloves on. It's very hard like cardstock, so it's kind of easier with your hands anyway. Just have to make sure you're peeling off the correct parts, so I always use my initial image as a reference. Now that I'm done, it's time to get my coasters out. So you can see here that you have the shiny side, which is where your design is going to go, and then the other side is just the ceramic mat. Next, I'm just using a lint-free cloth to wipe it down, and then I am flipping my image over to the sticky side and trying my best to center it and put it down perfectly. This may take a few tries, and that's totally okay. Just make sure that the design isn't coming off the edge. Now I'm going to put this aside and get my Cricut Easy Press 2 work surface ready. Cricut has a heat guide on their website so that you can follow the proper rules for anything you're creating, and every Cricut blank is a little bit different. So for the coasters, it says to put white cardstock down on your mat first, and then you put your coaster facing down on the paper. That white paper is there so that your ink doesn't potentially bleed and get on your mat, by the way, because if it did, that would mean that you could no longer safely use your mat without it possibly ruining future projects. Next, you have to put a piece of butcher paper over the coaster and then very carefully place your Cricut Easy Press on top of the project. For coasters, the heat guide says that you have to leave your press on for 240 seconds at 400 degrees Fahrenheit, so I'm going to press the go button and watch as it counts all the way down to 0. Once that's done, I'm pulling it off slowly and carefully, and as you can see here, it got so hot that the butcher paper turned yellow as well as the cardstock underneath the coaster. And because that Cricut mat holds all that heat in, I'm just going to slide it out from under the coaster so I can cool down quicker. For coasters, you do what's called a cold peel, which means that I'm waiting for the coaster to cool down completely before I pull off the transfer paper. And after about 15 minutes, it was cooled down, and just look at that gorgeous outcome. These turned out so great. I am so happy with them, and I love the way they look on my desk. Okay, time for the next project. So next up, I'm going to make some stickers. Cricut has really adorable print and cut options, and I have some printable vinyl I can use, so let me show you how I make them and where I put them. So again, we're on Cricut Design Space, and if you see here, you can type in anything you want at all in the search bar, and tons of options come out. I picked these out, and I want to make sure I size them properly for my sheet, so I'm just going to add a rectangle here, and first I'll resize it to be a bit smaller than my printable vinyl sheet, and then I basically place them all in this rectangle, fix the sizing a little bit, and then I'm clicking attach so they stay that way. And then I'm going to delete this rectangle so that when I go to print, I'm using as much space as I can and the paper isn't wasted on any empty space. Now you just hit send to printer and watch the sheet come out, which is also kind of fun. Oh, so cute. And then you want to put that same sheet onto a green mat, or even a light grip mat would work. And then you're going to press go so that they can actually turn into individual stickers. And once they're done, you just flip that mat over again, peel the sheet off, and then you can place the stickers wherever you want. Stickers make me happy, so I like to put them on tons of different places around my home, and since these are vinyl, they're easy to peel off if you decide you don't want them on there anymore. Okay, time for the next project. For my next project, we're going to use the Cricut to etch a mirror. I got this basic circle mirror from Michaels, and I remember on Pinterest I saw someone put the evil queen from Snow White on a mirror, which is of course the infamous mirror mirror on the wall quote, and I love that idea since I'm a huge Disney fan, so thank you Pinterest for this inspiration. I bought an evil queen SVG on Etsy, and I will attach that link in the description box if you want it as well. And I just had to make some adjustments to it so that I could etch the correct parts. This can be a little tricky and take some time to get it down perfect. I always suggest cutting your first version on paper to make sure it's exactly how you want it. Sometimes this takes a few tries too, but once I got it down, I got some regular vinyl out and applied it to my mat and cut the design out. Next, you have to weed it, of course. This time, it's recommended to use Cricut weeders and tweezers to get all of those small pieces out. First, I'm prepping my mirror and wiping it down with some alcohol and a lint-free cloth, and then once it's dry, I'm going to use some Cricut transfer tape. I'm just putting it down on my image and using the scraper tool to make sure it sticks on there well, and then also flipping over on the other side and scraping that down too. And now I'm going to peel it off slowly. Again, this takes a couple of tries because you want to make sure you don't lose any of your design. And then I place the transfer sheet down on my mirror. Now, this is so important for etching. You want to make sure all of your vinyl is down and there are no bubbles because you want smooth, crisp, and clean edges. So really make sure there's no air in there. And you want to push from the center out to help avoid those bubbles. Now it's time to etch. I'm using Armor Etch and I'm going to shake it before I use it. Definitely put some gloves on before you etch because there is acid in there and it can burn your skin. So make sure to protect yourself and your workspace. Now I'm using a foam brush to apply the etching cream. You'll notice that I did not practice what I preached and I'm not wearing gloves. That's because I actually messed this project up 2 times before I got it right and I ran out of gloves. I should have also covered the rest of my mirror with cardstock because sometimes the etching cream splatters a bit and if it gets on your mirror, it is not coming off. My first recommendation is that if you're going to do this, do a practice run. There are 2 different ways of applying etching cream, as far as I know. Some people do what I'm doing and keep moving the cream around because apparently that activates the acid. And some people just sort of glob it on with like an even layer and then let it sit for 3 minutes and wash it off. I went with this way and I'm not sure that I would suggest doing this with a big image like the one I'm using, but I didn't want to do this project for a 4th time, so definitely test out both versions before you apply it on your actual mirror. So I dabbled for 3 minutes and now it's time to wash it all off. You can use your foam brush to help with this, and fair warning, the excess cream sort of stuck to my drain, which is not good, so I would do this in a slop sink if you have one, or even with a bucket and a wet rag. Now here comes the fun part, peeling that leftover vinyl off, and ta-da, that's it! I packed my mirror on this wood circle hanging I had in my closet, and here is the final result. It certainly isn't perfect, but it's great for any Disney lover, especially if you have a lot of crafting patience. For my next project, I'm going to make a Cricut Infusible ink t-shirt. First, I'm opening up Design Space here, and I want to make something summery, specifically with mermaids because they're my favorite. So I'm just going to type mermaid in the search bar. Let's see here. Okay, so I love this one, and I'm going to click on both of them and make my own little design, just like this. Just gotta make it perfectly even here. Okay, so now I'm going to do the same thing I did with the coasters, adjusting the materials and all of that, and we're gonna click make it. Okay, so I weeded my design off camera, and this is what it looks like. Loving it already. And now it's time to prep our shirt. So I have the shirt down on the mat again here, and this time Cricut has instructed me to put the white cardstock inside the t-shirt to again avoid any bleeding. And then I'm going to lint roll and make sure there's no little dusty bits or anything like that. I then apply my butcher paper. And then I take a look at my heat guide here, and I first have to press the shirt on its own without the design for 15 seconds, so I'm doing that. And now I'm going to apply my design. Most people actually go out of their way to make sure it's exactly in the center, most likely because they're selling their items, but for this, it's for me, so I don't kind of care. Just gonna wing it here. So once that's down, I apply a new piece of butcher paper and then carefully press for 120 seconds at 360 degrees Fahrenheit with even and light pressure. Now carefully removing my Easy Press 2, removing the butcher paper, and for t-shirts you peel the transfer sheet off right away. So here we go. Oh my gosh, I'm in love. Oh, but do you see that little spot in the corner? Look here, see, this is why it's important to lint roll and also make sure there's no residue on your transfer sheet before you put it down. This is totally fixable, and like I said, it's for me, so it's okay. I'll likely stain the shirt anyway because I'm very messy, but I really love how it turned out, and this is how it looks on me.
Okay, that's it for today. If you liked what you saw, I would love if you could give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel to see more fun, crafty, DIY content, all that good stuff. You can find me on Instagram, Pinterest, and TikTok at madcrafty, and I will see you next time. Bye!